How to boost site speed by hosting Gtag.js locally, online marketing tools. There's a pressing question we're asking ourselves: is Google Analytics slowing down my website? With the introduction of Core Web Vitals score, site speed optimization cannot be considered an afterthought anymore, it has to be a priority. Let's consider two things. Firstly, how can you leverage browser caching when Google's very own Analytics.js cache expiration header is not set long enough? What I mean is, if you check the inspector for the response, you'll see that the expiration header is set to 2 hours from the request. That means when you need to access information from the server, the page option in the cache is already outdated or expired. Obviously, since this is hosted by Google, you have no control over that. Secondly, third-party code is anything on your WordPress site that creates a request from an external website. Since you cannot minimize DNS requests because Google advises you to copy their tracking code, which links to an externally hosted JavaScript file, how do you get around this? In the Google Analytics case, although the tracking code has to be embedded on your pages, it is hosted by a third-party server, not your own. Whenever you use Google Analytics, the user's browser has to go on a round trip to download the file from Google's external servers. In addition to that, each of your website users will be downloading the Gtag.js library, which is 39.3 kilobytes of JavaScript, plus Analytics.js, which is 19.5 kilobytes. Google HTTP requests. If that's not sufficient, Google adds 3 HTTP requests every time users view your website. The data that Google Analytics uses to provide all the information in your reports comes from these sources. The HTTP request of the user. Browser/system information. First-party cookies. Now guess what happens in the process? Every time there's a call to scripts that is hosted by a third party, that will inevitably slow down your site. It will take anywhere between 100 to 500 milliseconds of extra loading time. Does it really matter? Well, now it does. The Google who is slowing down your page loading speed with their analytics, is the same Google who introduced Core Web Vitals score as ranking factor for your website from June 2021. What is Gtag.js? Global Site Tag, Gtag.js, is a library of JavaScript variables and functions that was pushed into the interface of Google Analytics by Google in 2017. It didn't bring any new functionality other than changing around the way to implement Google Analytics and AdWords tracking. Google announced this because they wanted to unify the tracking process. What Gtag.js does is to simplify the process by keeping tags from individual outputs in one basket of codes. The question of speed. If you run your website through a speed checker like the one at Pingdom, GMetrix, or Google's own page speed insights, you don't want to see your performance grade below 90, and that's understandable. In today's cutthroat competition for rankings, and with the newly introduced Core Web Vitals score, every millisecond makes a difference. There's a plethora of reasons your website might suffer with slow loading speeds. Bad compression, if you're not using zip compression. High-resolution uncompressed images. Locally hosted videos. And more. These are some of the factors which may be contributing to the slowdown of your website. Google Analytics code is one of them, and it's not to be taken lightly. Is Google Analytics a waste of time? Most people either don't know how to read data, or cannot be bothered and ignore it altogether. Although Google Analytics won't help you produce better content, measuring, managing and analyzing marketing performance offer profound insights into preferences and trends. It allows you to monitor campaigns and their respective outcomes to plan your marketing strategies as effectively as possible. Data is every blogger's best friend, and needless to say it applies to every aspect of online presence, be it on social media, websites and blogging, or e-commerce. So, Google Analytics isn't by any means a waste of time. Hosting Google Analytics locally. One way to help speed up your website is to host Google Analytics on your WordPress site. Google's own script throws a warning about caching, but this is because they have their HTTP caching header expiration set really short, which is about 2 hours. When the Gtag.js is hosted on your own server, you have full control of HTTP caching headers, which will considerably reduce loading time. In this way, you will be able to make the loading time of your website as short as possible. This will be achieved by reducing the number of round trips to download the file from Google's external servers. It means that you can utilize your own server's cache headers. Leverage browser caching. Since you cannot add expires headers to the external scripts, Google Analytics code in our case, you cannot leverage browser caching. When you have an issue such as leverage browser caching which is totally out of your control, the solution to fix this is hosting your Google Analytics tracking code, Gtag.js, locally. Use MonsterInsights. MonsterInsights is the #1 Google Analytics plugin for WordPress. With over 3 million active installs, MonsterInsights is the most popular Google Analytics plugin for WordPress. It makes it easy for you to use all advanced Google Analytics features in WordPress. Their new update enables you to host the Google Analytics Gtag.js script locally while still being able to take advantage of the great MonsterInsights features like custom dimensions. MonsterInsights Update version 7.18. After analyzing the recent Core Web Vitals which started rolling out in June 2021, MonsterInsights updated their main tracking scripts on your website and now offers lightning speeds. That also includes an updated performance add-on to include the option to host your Gtag.js script locally on your server. Additionally, the performance add-on feature will automatically fetch the latest Gtag.js file from Google every 24 hours to make sure it's up to date. It's MonsterInsights staying on track and on top of Google's product, Google Analytics, which impacts their very own ranking factor. The latest feature update comes in really handy if you want to create successful WordPress website experiences for yourself or your clients, helping you to speed up your WordPress site, which is absolutely essential.